Welcome to I Drink, Therefore I Am, a think tank media podcast, hosted by international spirits educator and whiskey ambassador Martin C. Duffy. Each episode, Marty sits down with distillers, brand builders, and industry insiders to talk about the craft, the culture, and the business behind the spirits world. Pour yourself something appropriate, and let's get into it.
There we go, and hello, everyone, and welcome to I Drink, Therefore I Am. I'm Martin Duffy, a long-time industry professional, kind of, who is currently working as the national brand representative for Glencairn Crystal, the wonderful whiskey glass folks, thus the name. I do not sell meth, so you know. And today's host, our guest, well, I'm the host, thank you. Today's guest is a very, very prestigious man in the industry, a long-time professional himself. I think one of the, to me, it always seems like you're like one of the chief importers of spirits. Mr. Henry Preiss, everybody. There he is.
Hello. Good to be on, Marty. Always good to be with you no matter where.
Henry, you're, I always look forward to seeing you at whiskey shows or spirit shows in general, especially like when Dave Schmier has his Indie Spirit Expo, because your table, you have such an amazing array of stuff that you bring in. They're really, really fascinating, really cool. A lot of times you bring in the brand owners, which I think I'm a big proponent of that. I think people want to meet, especially if it's a small brand, if they can meet somebody who actually makes it. And you don't really see that much, especially at whiskey shows anymore. It's usually local reps or a brand ambassador. It's not quite the same as the guy who said, hey, I'm going to give up a good chunk of my life and fortune and create a brand and put it out there and travel the globe trying to promote it. Tell me how you got into this. What was your origins?
Well, my origin goes back to 1974. I was actually working at a truss company that builds the frames for, houses, the roof structures and frames for houses. And, I was working with a bunch of awesome people. I loved it. It's outside, it's physical. It was kind of a dream, a bunch of just really good people to be working around. Most of them Hispanic, and all of them had kids. And every time a project finished, of course, mind you, this is the 70s. There was a lot of building going on in California. So there was a lot of trusses being built and coming out of there. But every time a project finished, you're off for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And all these Hispanic families, because they are really tight families, they just saw it as a vacation break. I've got too much German in me. I saw it as 2 weeks. I can't make any money. I can't work. What am I going to do? A lot of my friends are working. That was one thing. And the other was that I really wanted to learn a lot more about construction overall. And there wasn't anybody that saw that desire in me, was willing to apprentice me in that. So I go, well, I'm just going to quit. This isn't going to be my life. My father was already an importer. We came over from Germany in 61. He brought over little brands like Jägermeister and other ones like that. And so he always needed help. He was a two-people show, a secretary and himself, and contracted delivery people. So I go, well, I'll go help them. And as I started calling on some of the stores for him where the deliveries were made, I saw that. I go, my dad sells stuff like this. Oh, he didn't tell me about this. He didn't tell me about that. I know, I'll come back with a sample. Next thing I know, I'm carrying a suit in my van, because back in those days, you couldn't go cold on accounts in a t-shirt and jeans. And you had to put on usually a shirt and tie at the least, sometimes a jacket. Especially if you were seeing a distributor, you put on the jacket. There was no going into a Southern when they first started, or Al Hart, which is way back, probably further back than anybody listening to the podcast. but you had to be dressed up for it. And then my father saw that I kind of enjoyed that, and he sent me to the German wine country, to the Mosel. And I met the Bergweiler family. You know, they've been doing business with my father for years, and they were just amazing. It's beautiful country. The wines are amazing. They gave me keys to a little 1600 BMW with a stick shift, and I was blasting up and down the Mosel. And I go, I think this business is for me. 52 years later, I'm here.
And now it's a family business. Your daughter, Nikki, she works with you?
Well, yes. Vicki works with me in this company. We started this company in the fall of 2012. In 2008, in September of 2008, Tony Folio, Keith Greger, former partners at Sky Vodka that they sold to Campari, bought my company. They liked what we were doing. In particular, I think they were enamored with that I picked up Chinaco tequila from Beam. And Tony Folio always wanted Chinaco. And they really liked what we were doing. And they said the magic words, we don't want to change anything. If I was younger and going through it again, those words would be translated, we want to change everything and your time is limited.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a great experience working with those guys. Savvy, smart, honest, good people, wonderful people. I really enjoyed it. And then they partnered 2 years later with Berry Brothers and Rudd. They bought Anchor Brewery. They merged Preiss Imports into Anchor, became Anchor Brewers and Distillers. Another, not quite 2 years after that, I was shown the door. And
Bastards.
And so, you know, Nikki, my daughter, said, hey, you know, we don't want to let the family legacy go away. So here I am doing the same thing I did back in 1974. Yeah.
Came full circle. That's a circle of life, Henry. That's what they call it.
Just a little older.
Well, I mean, if you, I don't know what you've done, but you have a wonderful reputation out there in the booze industry, in the spirits industry, I should say. I was once chastised for when I worked for Diageo. I was never supposed to say booze. I go, why not? It's fun to say. Booze. What? No. Frowned upon. But I mean, and again, I point to the fact that I'd see you out in the market. I'd see you with your clients, with your brands. I'd see you actively promoting it. And I always, you know, that's so key. I think in any level of this industry, you got to be out in the marketplace. You got to be, you know, pressing the flesh, talking with people, telling stories.
Yep.
Because you know, otherwise it's just liquid in a bottle. There's
You're so right. You're so right. I mean, you know, I'm old enough that I was there at the ending of Schenley, which was the largest liquor company in the world, which Sidney Frank came from, which eventually got, when our contract with Jägermeister ended, Sidney built the Sidney Frank company. He was unbelievable. There was, you know, the Bronfmans with Seagram, incredible people. I mean, they were good people, very competitive. But you know what? We had our Wine and Spirits Importers Club. We shared stories. We shared experiences. There was a camaraderie that sort of the whole industry, even though every day we went out and competed, when we got together socially, it was about sharing ideas, what worked, you know, the industry, you know, what's that word, you know, a rising tide floats all ships.
Yep.
And if, you know, we're missing that today because we've been taken over by global companies that the only ship they want to float is their own.
Well, you know, yeah, I always thought the problem was marketers. Like when I worked at Diageo, and you would say you go over to the Isle of Islay in Scotland, all the distillers at all the distilleries, they get together once a month with their wives, and they all have a big dinner, and they're all friends, and they exchange, oh, you're having problems with this, oh, we'll take care of that, blah blah. But then you thought, well, how come you guys aren't all fighting each other? Because when you go to the marketing, they don't see it that way, because all it is a product. There's no community. It's all about how we can get on top of the other guy. And instead of really just pushing your brand, just push your brand, sing its praises, and try to get people to say, well, I'd like to try that. Yeah, that's all you need to do. And you're right. Adam Spiegel and I were discussing earlier. One of the best parts of this industry, especially the smaller brands, is the people. The people are, it's fun to run into folks and talk to them and see what they're up to.
I mean, I think before we were on the mic, we're touching on that, I could be wrong, but I think there's some tremendous fear within the global giant companies. When they lose 5, 6, 7% of business, it's huge. Did we lose that? We lost more than that from the peak of COVID. But we're a lot more nimble. We're a lot more flexible. We're a lot quicker. And we've built a network. We have around 50 distributors we work with between control states and distributors. Quite a few states, we have more than one distributor because we have a lot of brands. And, so do we have things that we have to clear out? People are destocking. It's a challenge. Absolutely. But we're able to shift. We're able to shift with the trends. And, one of the questions before we got, onto the mic was, what do I see as some of the trends? Without a doubt, it's funny, trends are a lot like a change in the weather or like a volcano. And, when Chartreuse decided that they're going to change the model, whatever may be the 100% correct story, the reality in the marketplace was there's going to be less Chartreuse, meaning they might still sell their close to 60,000 cases in the US, but they're going to shuffle it where they feel it's most important to them. They're not interested in growing at 10, 20, 30% a year. And just like that, I have a product called Verin de Verlet, which is from Le Puy de Velay in kind of the southern middle part of France. It's an herbal liqueur, kind of like Chartreuse. It's not Chartreuse, but it's very much like that. It very much works like that. And it takes off like a rocket ship. I mean, Other things are soft, that's strong. If I go back to what is hodling today, and when it was my company, our backbone was whiskey. There's nobody that had a bigger selection of scotches and distilleries out of Scotland, outside of Diageo, than Preiss Imports did. It was amazing. It was absolutely the golden age for that. It was the early 90s. It took off. People made a lot of room on the shelves. Very different today. It's not that business is gone, but it's certainly diluted by so many entrants and entities. And even though we're bringing in a new line of merchant bottling from Brave New Spirits, which I really like because I think their thinking's out of the box. Right now, our business is on premise, and it's liqueurs, it's modifiers, it's strong, and which I think will hopefully open some doors for the whiskeys that we want to try and get into the market. We have some very innovative and beautiful whiskey products that are challenged finding, shelf, love, enthusiasm, and things. So yeah, there are things that keep selling really well. We keep hearing about less drinking and so on. I've never had the business of the people that drink a lot. We sell premium spirits. So we don't have the Tito's customer, the one that generates that real volume. Tito's or any other large brand loses 3, 4, 5%. it's significant. They're selling 1 million or more, or 2 million. What is, some of these brands like Sazerac Fireball, I think it's 11 million cases. If you lose 7%, then you lost 1 million cases. So
Yeah.
that's big. And so we live in a really different world. I think where we suffer right now a little bit is some of the destocking that's happening and the overstocking at retail and on premise that still have to get rid of inventory so they can move into fresher and newer things, new menus, and so on. So overall, I still see the market very optimistically, and with full of challenges as they always are for little guys. And there's going to be some survivors and some not so survivors within that, that global sphere of business.
But you mentioned liqueurs, and I love to see liqueurs make a big comeback. Years ago, for 18 glorious months, I was the Benedictine National Brand Ambassador. Thank you very much.
Great product.
Fantastic, really cool history. I went to Normandy, to Fécamp, where it's made, and the Benedictine Palais. It's just lots of really cool stuff. But it also made me look into the history of liqueurs. Also, my own, I remember from my own youth, from the 60s and 70s. I'm a lot older than I look. I'm twice as old as Henry. I just age really well. They had, I remember my folks they'd always have liqueurs in the home. They'd something you bring out for guests when it was not too big, heavy of a night, not big party, but you had guests over. You go out. In fact, when I was working for Benedictine, I go to steakhouses. I was really shocked, even though they had a lot of old school waiters. The whole idea of having offering a liqueur after dinner was foreign to them. They go, really? Well, I never thought about that. Yeah. What do you think people used to do? Benedictine used to be like a 1 million case brand just in the US. Now when I was working, it was only 5,000 cases. That's how much it shrank. And most of those were going into cocktails, just a little additive. I'd like to see more liqueurs, the chartreuses of the world. And also, too, you being an importer, what I liked when I traveled around Europe, I lived in Ireland, I hopscotch on the weekends to different countries, and I always wanted to see what their local spirits were. Most of them were liqueurs. Yeah. And I found them really fascinating because they're all very different fruits, different strengths. Some didn't fit the usual definition of a liqueur. Some were quite strong. But, the history and the story behind those, again, I don't know. And a lot of times I have to ask myself, is it just me that I'm interested?
I think, what? Generally speaking, people like something sweet. They do, and it just depends how that's balanced. But it's an interesting backstory because in my former company, now Hodling, I brought in Luxardo. Very tough sell in the early 90s. Very, very tough sell. We all know it's not a tough sell anymore. Mm-hmm. And along the way, chartreuse, people had it on the shelf in the bar because it'd been here for, Wildman had it here for ages, and it was a staple, but it wasn't anything big. Then the two came together in the last word, Ryan McGarrion came up with Aviation Gin. He said, hey, can I have some Luxardo? Can I have some of the cherries? Oh, yeah, sure. Nobody was selling much of the stuff. And that became history. And so then back to liqueurs and what you're saying, Marty, of course, chartreuse is seeped in history. And a lot of the liqueurs I have are seeped in history. And so from that to chartreuse changing their their way that they want to be marketed or their volume that they're happy with and they don't want to grow it, it opens up a new area. The bartending community, the mixologists, suddenly try things that they weren't really looking to try in a different way because chartreuse was available. They ordered it, they got it, they worked with it. And that started spawning domestic producers, import products. I started bringing in Chanterba 10 years ago from Abruzzo, Italy. It's made with 100 different botanicals, plants, but all gathered fresh, all dried and processed naturally at Enrico Toro, and then as an infusion brought together in a high-proof medicinal aroma herbal spirit, no sugar. So very high proof, very medicinal and things. And there'll be bartenders in New York, saying, hey, can I get that? Can I get that? And it kind of became cultish for some bartenders. And again, the chartreuse thing winds down. That's available. The Vevrin de Verlet I mentioned earlier, the herbal liqueur, that's now owned by the Cointreau family. I brought that in 25 years ago. I couldn't give it away. Nobody wanted it. Of course, so back to what I said about chartreuse. 25 years ago, chartreuse wasn't selling 60,000 cases. I don't know what they were selling, but I would imagine it was more like between 5,000 and 10,000 cases because it was everywhere, but it was one bottle and it got dusty on the shelf.
Well, traditions, fell to the wayside, like I said, back in the day when you did, they used to have the beverage cart, just like you'd see at some steakhouses where they bring out the big meat cart. They had the beverage cart that would come around and say, here are our various offerings for an after dinner drink. And a lot of them were considered digestive. So it was good to settle the stomach with that. Like, I still love Amaro. Not just Amaro, Averna. I always have an Averna if I go to an Italian restaurant. It just feels right.
That and a nice strong coffee and after a meal and settle. Natasha Barami, who owns the gin room in St. Louis and has a restaurant there as well. She has a beverage cart heavily stacked, 2 layers with Amaros and digestives.
And do we need more of that? I think that's great.
When I started with my father in the early 70s, the restaurants we would go to in LA or different markets, all of them had a beverage cart, all of them.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge investment to put 30 bottles on a beverage cart. Yeah. The cart probably costs more than the liquor, and you wheel it around and they go, oh, what's that? And a little bit of knowledge, like, all right, well, this one is, we'll do this, or I can make you a crepe Suzette using this.
Plus it gives an experience that account, those people will remember that account for. Oh my God, they come around with this cart and they do that. It's just like when you used to go to Greek restaurants here in Chicago, in Greektown. I don't think they can do it anymore. I think some city ordinance. But when you used to flame the Saganaki,
sure, just like a crepe Suzette.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Kummel. Do you carry a Kummel?
Kummel.
Yeah. Well, how do you pronounce it?
Kummel.
Yeah, the little dots.
Yeah.
I always figured someone just.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I love that category.
I love it.
It's caraway. It's spirit, either a liqueur or an intense flavored caraway spirit. Very popular, Germany, Poland, that part of the world. I'm just starting business on a German herbal liqueur called Schwarzog, which is an herbal liqueur. It's kind of like a Jägermeister, not as sweet. And they also, that company, Hardenberg, is over 300 years old, still in the family. They're like Goldwasser, and they have a Kummel, as they'd say here. And I think eventually they'll let me bring it in. Right now, they want me to stick with their Schwarzog, which is really important to them. I had to push the buttons on the Derlach's Goldwasser. Derlach's originally comes out of Danzig, Poland, which was Germany at one point, back to the 1500s. It's got the gold flakes floating in it. It was assumed that for consumption, tuberculosis, it had a medicinal effect. Of course, in those days, alcohol was used for any ailment.
Right.
It didn't matter what it was. And, it's a delicious herbal liqueur. And that category is a solid category, be it Amaro. The Germans call them bitter liqueurs, which maybe put some people off. So,
Right.
and Amaro belongs to Italy. It really does. But sometimes you have to use it and say, look, it's a bitter in Germany, but it's Amaro in Italy.
And Caraway does have that licoricey taste, right? That anise taste that I don't know why some people don't like that. I love it. I've always loved black licorice. I've always loved that any kind of licorice liqueurs.
Like Sambuca and
Opal Nero.
Well, interestingly enough, right? We import from Yucatan, Mexico, a liqueur called Ixtabentun. So Ixtabentun is a flower, and I would assume back in the Mayan days, they collected the honey and they fermented it and made a mead type wine, because they certainly didn't have distillation. Today, it's honey, sugar, wild anise seed. So again, kind of in that licorice vein. And it actually sells really, really well. Back when I had Luxardo, though, Franco Luxardo would say, Henry, look how much Sambuca Romano sold in the United States. And I go, no, let's look at where Sambuca Romano sells, because the majority of the business they do is in Pennsylvania. And I said, and it's listed there, and the chance I will get Luxardo listed is pretty close to nil, because we can't compete price-wise, and that brand's been there for a long time and things. And so, yeah, it's interesting. My number one liqueur is Kalani from Yucatan, the coconut liqueur, made from fresh coconuts, pygmy coconuts that grow in Yucatan. And I hear over and over, no, I hate coconut. I can't stand that flavor. I go, well, you know what? You're in the business. You should at least know what it tastes like. Take a little sip, spit it out. Oh, this tastes fantastic. This isn't what I thought it would taste like. I go, well, that's because you've been drinking suntan lotion, not real coconut liqueur. This is made from fresh coconuts.
It's funny.
And that points to the problem of what you said earlier about quality, like Benedictine. Just amazing liqueur, complex, beautifully formulated, creamy, just so good in cocktails because it's high quality. Then there's always that category of the cheap stuff, and I think the industry does have some bifurcation going on. The cheap stuff is great. A lot of people, their budgets are really stressed and they want to make cocktails, whatever, pour it over ice cream, bake with it. So there's a place for that. But if you're going to drink less and drink stuff that's really good.
Well, real quick, going back to Como.
Yes.
So I did some research on it because I made a cocktail for a hotel in Galway over in Ireland. They wanted a green dragon because the owner of the hotel was part of that international yacht race, and his yacht was called the Green Dragon. So I needed some Kummel. And so I researched it. You know why they created it in Germany? For flatulence.
Like I said, they did. If you look up why alcohol was made, that's been around historically, they're going to have some reason. You got a rash, your hair is falling out, you got tuberculosis. We got a fix for that. We got an alcohol for that.
I know. I used to joke in Ireland that they came up with the water of life for people who were sick, and then the Irish decided they were sick all the time. Oh yeah, that's it. Oh my God, well, my arm is broken. Give me some of that. Yeah, and the other thing that you also mentioned that you were talking about with botanicals, I also find that fascinating with liqueurs in that and gin. I'm always surprised when someone creates a gin and they import botanicals from elsewhere. Well, you know, there's an opportunity to give yourself a little Terre Noir there. You can use some locals, and that makes you unique. Um, Glendalough and Ireland would use Fockenberries, and I thought they were swearing at me when they first told me that. Until I had to go up into the Wicklow Mountains and try to pick Fockenberries, but I was confusing them. They also look like rabbit droppings, just so you know. So you got to be careful. Um, Actually, Henry, it would be very cool, and this is something too I don't see as much in the industry as when I first started in the 90s, and then definitely in the next 15 years or so, was education. Not only to, industry, to bartenders and stuff, but even that, I don't hear that much about it anymore. But to consumers, I mean, I was out there. You had all these brand ambassadors going out there. We were doing whiskey seminars, and a lot of us were trying to get away from whatever marketing spiel the companies were giving us because we wanted to give people the truth. We didn't want to be a infomercial. We wanted to actually impart real information. We don't see that as much. And I think I would definitely go see you do one on liqueurs, like different liqueurs.
It's fun. It's interesting. There's a store in Indianapolis called Storied Company, belongs to Dennis Lynch and his partners.
Dennis, yeah, I know Dennis.
And so this is amazing. It's exactly to your point. I'm actually going back there to launch my new merchant bottling line in March. But maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I lose track. Dennis said, "You never come and visit me," and I go, "Okay, I'm coming. What are we going to do?" He said, "Let's do a gin seminar." Well, God knows, I must have 12 or 13. I don't know how many gins I have. Way too many. And so we make a presentation. We talk about the different producers, how they make it. If it's Spirit of Ven from the little island of Ven, and up in Sweden, different gin. And unbelievable, they're doing that tasting. Dennis sold $4,500 of gin that day. There's people that came up to me afterwards and said, they go, "Man, I swore to myself, I'm coming to this, but I'm not going to add another gin." And then they go, "Why? I haven't tasted this, and I haven't tasted that." Gins are really beautiful, and when they're made right, and the distiller knows how to put together, it's like being an herbalist, the way that pharmacists used to do things. You got a kidney problem, it's going to be this combination of teas. Chinese do it. Really well-made gin, interesting gin, can be a lot of botanicals. It can be very few. It's about the balance and the quality of the final spirit. And people were just fascinated. And I go, wow. And then Natasha, who runs Gin World, went back and did the same thing again with Dennis. And God, lo and behold, they sold another $4,000 or $5,000 worth of our gins. And so it's back to that education. The nice thing with spirits, back when I did wine, the first 20 years of my career, I enjoyed it. Nobody was doing these kind of consumer presentations. I got invited all the time. You move a lot of wine and things. And then everybody started doing it. And like you said, whiskey, people do it, lots and lots of it's happened on whiskey and things. Nobody's ever done liqueurs. Nobody ever does gin if it wasn't for Natasha and their Gin World and things. And so people get exposed. And the beauty of it is, you don't have to buy a bottle and drink it tonight. You buy a bottle if you like it. You sip it once a week, twice a week, after a meal if it's a digestif like a Fernet or things. And you can enjoy it. Part of exactly how you enjoy your food and meal and company and friends and conversation. And there's different ones. So it makes it fun to have more than one or two,
And
maybe you like right? Maybe you like Montenegro because you like the more flowery, fruit-forward flavor, but maybe you like something more intense. And, and so there's all those nuances. They're fantastic.
I know. And the beautiful, I can never keep a liqueur in the house. It's a really good one. Not too sweet, not too overly sweet. Like anytime I have, anytime I have a tomorrow. This is my co-host, Shadow Tuna, everybody. There you go. Hey, Shadow.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful eyes.
Kind of looks like Godzilla with fur, I always think. But liqueurs are wonderful sipping. Anytime you think, you know what, I'm not really hungry, and I don't want to drink anything too strong. As far as I don't drink whiskey at home anymore, and I used to, and I don't like opening up a bottle of wine because then I gotta pump it, and I might not drink it for another couple of days, and I don't think it holds up as well. But a bottle of liqueur, good liqueur, you go get a little glass and you sip it. It's perfect. It's putting flavor in your mouth without being really full. And even the sweet ones aren't as loaded with calories as you would think. So,
well, you're not going to drink a lot of it, right?
Right.
I mean, some people would maybe, but generally speaking, if you're going to order a Fernet, which doesn't have sugar, or an Amaro that does, if you're doing an ounce or something, and you're looking at 30, 40 calories, it's not that high. The flavor of it, and especially depending on the Amaros and then the herbal botanical blend, the settling on the stomach is pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the other thing, too. And like I said, I feel like John the Baptist, a little voice in the wilderness a lot of times. Telling folks, man, this is something you should really push in your establishments, in your bars, your restaurants. If somebody one time I went on a date. I went on a date. It was a girl I knew. We went out, and I treated her to a nice, big, fancy Italian dinner. But after,
then it becomes a date.
Yeah, I guess, but I wasn't. We were that romantic. Every once in a while, we get drunk and make out. That's about it. But I really needed something for my tum tum, and I went straight to this Italian restaurant, and that's where I thank God they had a Verna. I just Verna. I don't know what it is. It just settles the stomach, and it just.
The beauty is how different they all are, and I mean, Jägermeister, which is pretty sweet, and Jägermeister went the whole shot route. And so it was always kind of a shooter, but it was kind of like a Boilermaker along with a beer in Germany, blue collar thing. And then Sidney Frank turned it into, highly popular for young people. So now people kind of poo-poo on it. They want it to be used in cocktails and things. Well, it missed that boat, but it became gigantic, made them a lot of money. Jägermeister has 56 different herbs and botanicals in it. And it's a very complex product. It's sweeter than I like, but that's the beauty of all of those different products is the herbal, the combinations. I mean, why do people like to drink certain tea blends or chai tea? I'm drinking one in my office here, Celestial Seasonings Bengal Spice. It's when the weather's cold, it's delicious,
Oh, yeah,
and it has a lot of flavor. You finish a meal, you're not going to eat, you don't want a big dessert or anything. You get an ounce of a nice liqueur. Oh, by the way, you must have arranged this. This is Dave Schmier calling.
He was probably saying, tell that Duffy to shut up. Well, two things before we're coming to the end here. Two things. One, Henry, I do believe you should put together a seminar that not only for consumers, anytime there's spirits.
I agree, consumers, if the consumers want it, the distributors will sell it.
Right. And again, I think it's a lack of information, it's lack of knowledge and training out there that people aren't hearing about. They don't know. They just don't get it until they hear about it and they go, oh, this is weird. Let me go try this out. And you know what? Not only consumers, but you should do some of that, the conferences, ADI and ACSA. So distillers know this too. Because there's a lot of opportunity maybe for some.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I should talk to Bill and Eric about that and do a seminar and pick half a dozen of our liqueurs. I'm actually planning on coming to this year's because I skipped 2025 because I wanted to be at TPSA, the Texas Package Show.
Uh-huh.
And you know what? Those retailers that come to that, they're not looking for anything. They already carry most everything. So I'm going, what's the benefit of spending a bunch of money being around that? I really want to get at the heart of people, exactly like what you're talking about. Somebody that's going, well, I never, back to like what I was talking about with the coconut liqueur. No, I don't like coconut. I can't stand it. And because you've never been drinking the real stuff. You drink the real thing. And I have so many beautiful herbal liqueurs. I can take you from very mild to really intense.
Yeah. Well, and then,
Good point.
You should talk to Schmier too about maybe doing.
I got to call him back.
His doing a seminar at the Indie Spirit Expo next fall. I think it's in October again this year. And last thing before we go, just want to get your overall sense, kind of a two-tier thing. One, your overall sense of the industry right now. Is it just whiskey in the doldrums, or is it the whole thing?
No, I think the whole thing's a little funky right now, and I think a lot of it ties into a general mood about what's going on globally, geopolitically, domestic politically. Things are unsettled, maybe to a greater extent than I've ever experienced. We've experienced a lot of weird things, but things are unsettled right now, and there's a lot of things. And when things are unsettled, people say, well, maybe I better not this, maybe I don't do that. And, or I do too much of one thing. And, it's a confusing time right now. And we'll have to see how the dust settles out on it.
And then what do you see as being a real good, and maybe even within your own company, what do you see that you might have coming in, or what categories do you see really growing? People catching
on? Well, it's going to be the herbal liqueurs.
There you go.
That's it. That's it right now. That's really where it's heading.
That's good. I think it's a beautiful category, and it's so goofy that people don't explore it more, because any bar usually has. In fact, when I bartended during the 90s, any bar I went into, any bar, any restaurant, everyone had a big bottle of Galliano in the back there, and nobody knew what to do with it. Nobody drank it on its own, and Harvey Wallbangers had gone out the way of the dodo bird, which is unfortunate. Bring that back too.
Marty, I got to check out. I got another message call coming in.
Is that Schmier? Tell Schmier to leave you alone.
Yeah.
The pest. All right, Henry, thank you very much for being here. You be good. Run off and take care of that empire that you have.
Thanks. Take care.
We'll see you on the road.
Yep.
Thanks for spending time with us on I Drink, Therefore I Am. You can watch every episode of the podcast inside Hospitality Nexus, a global human-first platform bringing the hospitality ecosystem together in one place. Inside the Nexus, it's a career fair that never closes, connecting industry leaders, educators, students, employers, and partners through real presence. Create your free account and explore the community at hospitalitynexus.org. And until next time, sip thoughtfully, drink responsibly, Sláinte.